Shifts, not shit, shifts. Shifts in your mind, shift in your daily schedule, shift in all sorts of things that life is going to happen to you. Adding a new member of the family, right? That all those things we talk about today with our guest, a very special guest, Captain, almost said lieutenant because he was a lieutenant the first time he came on. He's the very first guest on the W2 Capitalist podcast. We're circling back up with him after 2 years, finding out all the, we at the very beginning, we talk about how things have shifted in my life, how things have shifted in his life, and how we're both just exploding on the real estate investing side. He is exploding more than I am. And the reason I say that, he is ahead of me on this. Because he's hustling more than I am. He's got these deals, he's got these systems down. He's got a whole team of working for him. And that's what you got to do to be able to get forward. And I'm encouraged by what Mike says today and the advice he gives all of us. But what most exciting thing we talk about is how he makes $70,000 on one flip. Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Jay Helms, and I'm the founder of the W2 Capitalist. If you are new here, if this is your first time discovering the W2 Capitalist, we are a resource for married men and women to build multiple streams of income through real estate investing so that you can be more present both mentally and physically with your spouse and your children. And we want to help put you on a path toward building generational wealth. Personally, I want to be the guy that helps you remove all the stress and all the anxiety that comes with financially providing for your family. Today's episode is with Captain Mike Webb. Let's bring him in. Mike, welcome to the show, sir.
Thanks for having me.
So I gotta admit, this is long overdue. You and Captain Ryan Kenyon at the time, y'all were the very first guest on the podcast. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did not.
That was over 2 years ago. I think almost to the week is when we recorded, because it was sometime in January when we recorded. It didn't launch until like March or something like that of 2019. So this is almost 2 years. So man, it's been exciting to see what you've been doing all over Instagram and all this stuff. I've got one picture in particular I want to ask you about when we get there, but
sure.
How you been?
Good, man. And congrats to you too. Cause if you were just starting out 2 years ago, I mean, you've gone light years in those 2 years. So awesome.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah. Most of it's come in the last 6 or 7 months when I didn't have a full-time job to have to worry about. But
yeah, I caught that on a couple episodes ago. You said you were a victim of the COVID, and kind of sounds like maybe not the victim. Maybe it worked out for the better.
You know, I almost called my boss the other day, and because it was about New Year's, I was kind of thinking back about everything that's been going on. And my boss at the time, I knew it was a difficult conversation for him to have and whatnot. And I almost called him and said, "Hey, man, I just want." And I'm sure I would have went to voicemail, but point being, I wanted to leave a message and say, "Look, I know that's a tough, difficult decision for you. Probably don't want to do it. It's been the best thing that's ever happened to me, you know?" Yeah. And I wanted to do that, but then I got thinking, the guy's pretty much an asshole anyway. Why would I do that? So I did
take the high road. Yeah, just taking the high road.
I should have, but anyway, I didn't. Well, I should say he's a very driven person. He's a very corporate person. He's one of those guys that I think if I worked for him longer than what I did, I would have learned a lot of stuff, but it is. But yeah, no, it's been a huge blessing, and that's kind of how I embraced it after a few days of
the shell shock.
Yeah. Well, it was more of, it wasn't the shell shock, because a lot of people don't know this. I even offered him, I said, "Look, I don't necessarily need the paycheck." I was like, if you guys are willing to come off some stocks or some sort of options, I could go without taking a paycheck for a while, you know? And I said, I'll work for free for a few months until you guys figure it out. And he goes, "Man, I appreciate that. I understand it." He goes, "But this is much bigger than just what you're offering." And I was like, "Oh, like how big?" And he goes, "Well, you know, I can't tell you those details." Well, it turned out to be like 50 something people that were let go, including half of my team, me, this whole restructuring thing. So I was like, after I found that, I was like, okay, now I'm not so sorry. But I did, poke around the house a couple of days after that, thinking, some asshole got to keep their job and I didn't.
But think about where you would be, what position you would be in had you not found this road.
Oh man. Well,
could you imagine some of those conversations and some of those folks were literally scratching their head how they were going to pay their bills next month?
No, exactly. And a lot of them scrambled to try to find new jobs. A lot of them did. A lot of them landed on their feet. I was able to, here's what's funny. I was a reference for a few of them, matter of fact. And a lot of them went to the same company. And after I got to know the HR person of this other company or whatnot, and the last one, she called me about a reference, and she said, she asked me, she goes, "Are you looking for a job?" And I was like, "I'm not." I said, I'm not, I'm not, my plan is to, she goes, "Oh, that's right. You're the guy who's never going back into the W2 world." So obviously somebody had been talking to about, she goes, "Well, if you ever change your mind, you just let me know." And she was being a good recruiter, obviously, but it was just kind of funny. She called for a reference for somebody, and that's never happened to me before. So I was, patting myself on the back a little bit. But I think I heard some news about you too. Last time we were talking, you were only a lieutenant, and I say that sarcastically, but you're a lieutenant. Yeah. And now, do I salute you as captain, or is that
no saluting necessary? But yeah, it was back in May of this year. I was promoted to captain. So, and with that presented a whole host of challenges for me, because it took me from a traditional, when I say traditional, in the fire service, and the last time I was on a 24-hour shift work schedule.
Yeah.
And right now I'm working Monday through Friday in an office, running our recruit training school. So
wow,
that's a big shift. Like, I just got home tonight about a half hour ago, and I work Monday through Friday. So that's been a big adjustment for me. I don't know how these people do it, working Monday through Friday. It's like, I always say that sarcastically, but no, it's been good too. It's definitely been a little bit of a change, actually a big change, but it's not necessarily been a bad change. And this is my second time I've been assigned to training. The first time when I was a lieutenant, and then this time, and then as much as I'm enjoying it, hopefully my last time assigned to training. The first time taught me a lot of things about the problems I had in my business. So between the last time and this time, I have got a lot more systematic, a lot more delegation, a lot more processes in place. So now my business is actually able to run when I'm there Monday through Friday. Whereas if this would have happened, well, when it happened last time, my business shut down for the better part of a year. And
wow,
anytime you stop trying to get restarted again, it's like getting that locomotive started from a stopped position. It's tough. So now we're churning along still.
And I promise I did not ask you to say those words about the locomotive, but I mean, that's the whole theme for 2021 and the W2 Capitalist, is to keep your momentum, because it is extremely hard to get going again, right? Once you stop. So that's a big shift though. And it's funny because I'm on the opposite end of where you're at, is where you now went to like a normal schedule. Mm-hmm. And before, you were working 24 on, all 48 hours, right?
Correct.
And you did that for how long? 7, 8 or 11?
This is my 14th year, I think. So
14 years.
There was a section of that where I was at training before for about a year, a little less. So give or take, you can say 12 years I've been on shift work, and 2 years now will roughly be on day work, is kind of what we call it.
Yeah. So that's a big shift. And I don't know about you, but like when I left the W2 world, I still feel like I'm adjusting, right? I mean, before the W2, I was getting up at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning to get my real estate stuff done, going to work, coming back home just exhausted and not really getting anything done in the afternoon. And now it's like, I have more opportunities coming at me than I know what to do with. Like, I have a virtual assistant. I need to hire probably 2 or 3 more, and I'm reluctant to do it just yet, but there's just so many different opportunities. I get people asking me all the time, how do you do as much as you do? And I'm like, well, number one, I have an amazing wife who takes care of almost everything.
Right.
You know, and but for you, for you going from shift work, you know, where you're working 2, maybe 3 days a week, how has that affected you? How has that affected you personally? And you said it was a good thing, but
Uh, I would say it's a good thing to some extent. It does have some negatives, but it has forced me to be a little more resourceful, and it's forced me to be very intentional with the time I do have to devote. So, I'm getting up early. You know, I try and get to bed early, but the time in between, I have to maximize it.
yeah,
And when I'm at work, I need to be at work. And whenever I'm doing real
yeah,
estate, I need to be doing real estate. And when I'm home, I need to be home.
yeah.
And that sounds very cut and dry, but I would be lying if I said those lines were black and white. Sometimes they get blurred a little bit. Like just before I got on this call, I had 2 phone calls from work to address an issue that's time sensitive, right?
Yeah,
But you know, it's doable because I've spent the time up front working with my assistant, working on training some staff, having a really good business partner, having an amazing wife, like all of those things, not that they're always puppy dogs and rainbows, has
sure
allowed
they
me
are,
to,
man. What are you talking
yeah,
about?
yeah, absolutely. Every deal's, you know, easy and super profitable. And every day I come home and my wife's got a glass of lemonade for me. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
dinner's on the supper.
Yeah,
Your clothes are folded and tucked
yeah,
neat on the end of the bed for what you're going to
right,
wear tomorrow. I mean, yeah, it's
right.
all.
So not to take anything away. My wife is very good about
No,
making sure
I
dinner's
understand.
ready, and like she does fold most of my clothes sometimes. But but
Mine
seriously,
too. I don't want to take anything away
yeah,
from my
yeah,
wife
we're not
either,
trying to
but
get ourselves in trouble here. Got
I
enough to
think we
deal
did
with.
that enough on the last time. I don't know.
But it's like I heard a quote before, and it's like you can either make excuses or you can make shit happen, but you can't do
Yeah,
both. And like
love
I
that.
still want to be a really good husband, a really good dad. I really want to be good, captain at my job. And I really want to be a good real estate investor that provides safe, reliable housing and jobs for our local community. Like it is possible to do all of those. Is it easy sometimes? No.
No,
But, you can sit there and find a way to make it happen, or you can sit there and just complain about it and be this victim that
yeah,
seems to be ever so popular.
yeah, yeah.
But that's a whole nother.
That's a whole
I don't
nother
know. I don't
topic
know
for
how
a whole
much time
nother
we have.
show.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned your partner there,
Mhm.
amazing business partner. Is that the same one you were with last time we talked? So over
Yeah.
2 years ago? Yeah,
Yep.
awesome.
And yeah, his name's Bill Kenny, and he's a realtor. So he has like his realtor business, and he has his own private portfolio. And
Okay.
then I have the fire department. I have my own private portfolio, and then we have a joint company where we wholesale, flip, have rentals, lend, all sorts of little stuff. Run a
How
meetup.
did both of you run the meetup? I was going to ask you
Yep.
about that too. Still going on, I see.
Yep.
Awesome.
That's been a course correct every quarter, as guidelines come out and the world's
Yeah.
coming to an end. Nope, we're back together. Nope, the world's, it's like, it's
uh,
forced us to pivot on that,
yeah.
but sure.
About your partnership, because I am now that I've got a little money and I'm looking to do some different stuff. How did you and your partner come to terms with, okay, this is what you do over here, this is what he does on this side, but somewhere in the middle you guys meet and it just works out, right? And again, I know everything's not unicorn and rainbows with partnerships, just like with your marriages, with my marriage,
Sure.
with your marriage. But how do you guys come to an agreement to know that where the line's drawn? Because I am sure that you come across deals that you're like, should I involve him or should I not involve him? But how did y'all come to that agreement? Because I heard this quote the other day about um the only oh man, I'm gonna butcher this. The only ship that doesn't sail is a partnership or something like that. And I was like,
Uh,
ouch. Ouch.
Yeah.
That's rough. But you guys have made it work. You've made it work for 2 years, and you came from your own independent backgrounds, but y'all joint
Hmm.
venture together. So how do you guys decide on what deals to work together, and how do y'all communicate that? Like, do you let him know every deal that you're working on, or is it just more or less, hey, I got this deal, would love to engage with you? How does that whole thing work?
Sure. So, to just play devil's advocate on the partnership quote, there's
Mm.
also the saying, like, if you want to go fast, go alone.
I,
If you want to go far, go together.
yeah,
So
I
I,
like that
I'm
one
a,
too.
I'm a big believer that a good partnership is worth its weight in gold, just like a good team is worth its weight in gold.
Yeah,
You can
absolutely.
sit there and do it all yourself and go crazy in the process. But first off, like we kind of met and started discussing real estate and partnerships loosely before we ever thought about forming an actual company. So I think it's important, like making sure that your core values, like I know that's a term that gets tossed around a lot, but
Yeah.
like people that you like and people that you don't like relatively quickly. Not that you want to go just on gut instinct, but if you don't like to even go have a beer with the guy, chances are you shouldn't go into business with him, because you know what I mean? Like if they give you that bad vibe just off that, like you probably don't want to be tethered to them on a mortgage, right?
Yeah.
So how we decided is originally we started wholesaling together just on a handshake deal. And like it was one of those when we were just starting wholesaling, like, man, if I don't get a deal out of this mailing, like direct mail, I'm out of business. Like we were both in the same boat.
Yeah.
So we're like, hey, we can make our marketing budgets go further if we combine them. So that's what we did. And that was just on a handshake. And it was, hey, if we get a deal out of your mailing, we split it. If we get a deal out of my mailing, we split it. And we just did that for a couple of years. And then he
Wow.
did his thing, I did my thing. And then eventually we kind of came back together and we said, you know what, why don't we get serious about this? And we formed a company, and we both had some bigger ideas that we knew we weren't going to get by ourselves. So as far as how we divide who does what, originally, we were the bookkeeper, we were the rehab repair person, we were everything, And then as we started to kind of like settle into our saddle, so to speak, like things that he was kind of naturally good at or had to do. Like I said, he was a realtor. So the lead gen, the call intake, because we were doing direct to seller marketing. He was just naturally better suited for that because he was available all day,
Mm,
every day, to within reason.
yeah.
And he was already having to do some of that work for his realtor business. I was already handling a lot of the rehabs and the scope of works and the managing of the contractors. So I just naturally kind of went into that. So now he kind of handles, I call it the front end of the business and the back end of the business, and I handle everything in between.
In the
So
middle.
when we onboard a new property for a rental or a flip or a wholesale, he hands it off to me. I go in, I make it nice, or I manage the process of making it nice.
Yeah. No,
Or
I
I make
remember
it
last time you said something about because when Ryan was on here with us and he said, hey, he said, I didn't fall in love with the flipping process like Mike did. And you cut him off. You said, let's be clear, I don't love flipping.
right.
So that
Yeah.
still stands true, I guess.
Yeah. And actually this year my business shifted. I did a lot more wholesaling and a lot
Okay.
less flipping. Um, so then once we fix it up and make it nice, whether it's going to be a rental or a rehab, I then hand it back over to him, and then he lists it, shows it, negotiates it. And as far as what deals I do with who, we do everything through our joint company at this point. So I don't really have any deals going on outside of that, and nor does he, except for like realtor type deals.
Yeah. Yeah. Just
And then,
retail type of things,
yeah,
right?
exactly. And
Gotcha.
then the only thing I would say we might segue separate directions moving forward is we're looking pretty hard at, like, I'm an idiot. I've never set up a self-directed IRA. So I'm actively working on that process. So I might have an entity set up, or, something where I'm going to be lending individually, just like he
Mm,
might be. So that's kind of where it stands right now.
yeah. I have self-directed RA, but I would want to encourage you to look at the infinite banking concept. One of those things where I thought self-directed IRA was the way to go, and you may be getting money from your retirement plans for being a firefighter, but I wish, and I talked to a lot of people about the whole IBC concept. I wish I would have started this a lot sooner. And depending on how much penalty I get, I'm probably going to move my self-directed RA. I've got a little issue going on there. I made a bad loan decision. I loaned a guy some money and he's disappeared with it.
So weird how that works.
Well, yeah, it is weird. It's one of those things where every red flag was going off and I was like, I'm going to do this. I need to be a little more riskier. Yeah. No, I do not. This is what happens when I get riskier. But anyway, so I can turn you on to the guy that I use. He actually sponsors the podcast and everything because he just clicked. He and I just clicked when it happened. So,
sure.
And you get ready to do that. I'll give you some information on him. But
send it over.
With your partner, though, I mean, what's the biggest thing that has come between you guys, and what's the best thing that's come out of it? Right.
The biggest thing that's come between us, knock on wood, I can't think of anything that's been like super big, and
maybe not, because the way you presented it sounds like you guys are very open in your forms of communication, but you also have very like-minded goals, right? And what you want to accomplish. And you kind of went into a little bit there about, there's some things that I want to do. There's some things that he wants to do. It's almost like y'all are already even talking about, hey, how do we separate eventually down the road to go and do our bigger, better things? Have y'all talked about that? I mean,
I don't think we're quite at that juncture.
Gotcha.
But I'm just thinking like, we've both have decided that like lending is something that we want to look at. We've done a bit of it over the last year or so. And I think that with that, it naturally would make sense for each of us to kind of have our own pot, if you will, because like he's got some retirement money, I've got some, and I don't think it would make sense for us to blend that together. Right. Yeah. But the assets within our business, we would probably do stuff with those, but no, we're not looking to kind of like go separate ways or anything. I'm just thinking he's a little bit older than I am. So he's going to probably be ready for that next phase of life before I will be. Like, we're having a baby in 2-3 weeks. So like his kids are all in college. Yeah.
Well, congratulations, man.
Thank you. Yeah. I just like to stack a bunch of stuff on all at one time.
Well, I know you got at least one. How many? What was
this is number 2. Yep.
Oh, it's easy. Second one's easy. Yeah. Third one, however, it's a challenge with 3.
I don't know about 3. Hats off to you. So I just know that he's going to. Yeah, exactly. He's going to be ready for probably a different chapter in life.
Yeah.
Than I will be at that time. Because like I said, his kids are all in college. Mine clearly are not. Right. So eventually, I've always heard all partnerships end at some point. You just have to make sure everybody's clear on how that happens. And while I don't think we have any plans for that ending anytime soon, like we just did our Q1 planning session like a week ago. We have big plans still. So, I mean, I don't see that slowing down, but you got to be thinking 5, 10, 15 years down the road. So
I love that. I love that you guys have a planning session too. Like it's not just, because I hear it, and I don't do enough partnerships. I should. I know I relate to that quote you said, hey, if you want to go fast, go at it alone. If you want to go far, go together. Right. And there's things that keep popping up. I'm like, I need more partners. I need to figure that out. I'm kind of putting some feelers out for people that I know or whatnot. But what are one of the things that you would coach people? Because I hear all the ugly about how partnerships fail. I've been a part of a couple that are just, hey, I'm not going to do a deal with you again, kind of thing. What are some of the things that you would advise me or anybody else listening to this when you dive into a partnership? You need to know this, and this about the other person.
Again, not to trust your gut, but I need to sit down and just talk to them as a person a little bit and kind of get an
Yeah.
idea of who they are, how they operate. If they're the kind of guy that's gonna, I don't know, like you can tell relatively quickly. Now, there's people that are very good at masquerading, but
Yeah.
if they're kind of a good person or not. And I would at this point almost not be interested in doing a deal with somebody unless they were referred to be somebody I like, know, or trust.
Gotcha.
If they were referred to me, automatically, I wouldn't say like it gets them in, but I'm going to probably spend a
They
little
get the
more
shortcut,
time.
to the front of the line if that
Not
happens.
not to say that somebody that isn't referred isn't capable and not somebody
Yeah.
that I wouldn't do something with, but they've already done some of the vetting for you. But
Yeah.
that would be my first thing. And then second, just making sure that you're crystal clear on what each other's expectations are, because sometimes, I mean, not that it's happened to me a lot, somebody's expectations of what you're going to do or what you're going to expect them to do. Like anytime I meet with a resident, which I don't honestly do that anymore,
Yeah.
but when I signed leases, I always told them three things, like, and I thought it was important to just kind of keep it simple. It's like, if you do it, these three things will be okay. If you skip any of these, we're going to have a problem. Like communicate, take care of the home, and pay your rent.
Yeah.
If you don't do those three things, we're going to have problems. If you do those three things, I bet we can work through most other issues. So like, as long as you spell out in very simple terms, now granted, you got to have the legalese document that's 28 pages long, very, very plain English, have that conversation, even if it's difficult, right? Have that up front, because it's going to save you probably a headache down the road.
Yeah. I love that. And that, I'm searching for an answer there so I don't get burned like I'm currently getting burned in having trust issues and whatnot. But, it comes back to, if I would have trusted my gut, you and I would be having a totally different conversation about that stuff. Hey, what's the best deal that you and your partner did in the last 2 years?
Last two, that could be a couple different ways.
What made you the most money?
So I did a flip, I think that we made just under 70, which for us is pretty good on a 180 house.
Yeah.
When you think about that as a percent, 80,000 on a $500,000 flip's not a big deal, but on a 180 house, that's pretty good.
That's really good.
And then I have one that we bought a place, we fixed it up, we sold on owner finance for 145, and I was able to buy it, rehab it, and have no underlying debt. So that's a pretty good one, but that one's, pay me slowly type thing.
Yeah.
So I can dive into either one of those. There's, little hiccups on either one.
Yeah. I want to talk about the flip. That seems pretty impressive. Let's dive into that a little bit.
Okay. So one of the flips we did in 2020 was a vacant home that the guy had died. The family was from out of state, like two of them from down south and one out west or something. The water had ran in the upstairs bathroom for a little while, created a mold issue in the basement. They had filed an insurance claim and had it remediated by a top-notch local restoration company. So yes, there was a mold issue, but it was being addressed and being addressed correctly. So we took this property and I forget what we had it under contract for, but we were going to assign it as a wholesale. Like I told you, most of my business had shifted towards wholesale last year. And just because the market was crazy and still is, people just, you can't get enough rehabs to give to people, right? So my buyer was a repeat buyer. I had it under contract quickly for a $30,000 fee. And right when COVID was just starting, he was using one of these like independent funding sources, right? Like where you pay like 2 points. It was, I don't want to say the name because I don't know exactly what company it was, but you know what I mean? It was one of these companies that like advertises, they'll give you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he was lined up, and literally 2 hours before closing, they pulled the plug on all deals they were funding. So we're like, okay, so there goes a $30,000 assignment fee. The seller had already signed and was on their way back to their house. And because it was like, they had to sign on a Thursday. We were signing like Thursday afternoon or something. Yeah. So they signed like checks in the mail, basically. Not so much. Long story short, he went kind of radio silent on me. So we kept his deposit. And like I said, this was a repeat buyer. Like, I was like, what the heck, man? Like, if something came up, just let me know. Right.
Yeah.
He went radio silent. Well, like when we tell people we're going to buy their house, like we intend to buy their house. So I said, give us a day. We'll take care of this. We got the funding lined up. We took the deal down ourselves. I went there, did another walk around, get a scope of work, got my contractor over there, rehabbed it. Took like 2 days to get everything pulled together. And then probably about 2 to 3 months to get it rehabbed and on the market. And we put it on the market, had multiple showings. It was a 3-bed, 2-bath, and ended up getting an all cash offer from an out-of-state buyer, and sold it.
It's incredible. So did you keep the wholesaling fee as well?
No. So like, for lack of, I forget the exact numbers, but I think we had it like under contract for 60 and we were selling it to him for 90. So we ended up taking it down ourselves for 60, I think, and then putting whatever into it.
Okay. Yeah.
The way I asked those numbers because
did not make sense, but you clarified that. So thank you for that.
Mm-hmm. So what we thought was going to be a kick to the stomach and losing out on a $30,000 assignment fee ended up being like a $70,000 rehab profit. Granted, it took longer. We had to do more work, but it was double the profit, you know? And it was a house that I could have sold 6 times, you know? So that was kind of how that one worked out. You know, it's kind of like taking that, because you remember how much, not that there's a lot of certainty right now, but you remember like when COVID was just starting, there was so much uncertainty. And again, not that there isn't now, but like things were changing and like literally the market just shut down for like a week. Nobody was funding anything, nothing. And then all of a sudden it was like, we picked back up like nothing ever happened.
Like, yeah, that's not the first story that I've heard about that. Right when COVID started coming out, or all the crap that started coming out around with it. One of the things you're talking about, hey, here we go, taking off again. Don't give everything away, right? But 2021, you met with your partner, said, hey, here's our vision for Q1 and beyond, probably. But where do you think the market is headed in 2021? And what are you focusing on? Are you still focusing on wholesaling, or what's your main focus for the rest of this year?
Man, wouldn't it be nice if I knew, like just had that prediction. So I guess if there was ever any disagreement between my partner and I, it's this part. So he's a realtor, like I said. So he just every day is just seeing his buyers get beat out by over asking, offer.
It's freaking nuts, man.
And I'm like a little more pessimistic. Like I guess I probably lose out on stuff because I'm too cautious sometimes, but I also don't want to be the guy. Yeah. I don't want to be the guy that, like, what's that saying when the tie goes out that I don't have the shorts on? Like, I don't want to be that guy. Right. So he thinks the market's just going to keep going. Now, not forever. Right. But I'm always waiting for like, man, tomorrow's the day, tomorrow's the day it's going down. So I would say for 2021, we are still going to flip. I would say I'm not going to take on any large, like super large rehabs. I'm looking to be in and out, like closing to closing, preferably in 90 days or less. Okay. Just because, the market can shift obviously, but hopefully it won't shift too drastically in those 90 days.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to stick with, you know, a 3-bed. This is ideal. 3-bed, 2-bath, paint, carpet, fixtures, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Where it's under, in my market, like under 225, under 250, I can sell that all day long. So trying not to stay in that price point below 100 starts to get real messy. Those buyers are like, they order a pizza and they lose their funding, you know. and the people buying $500,000 homes, like, I'm not going after them either. I'm just looking for like your 3-bed, 2-bath that everybody's got a kid in a minivan, like can afford that $250,000 mortgage type thing.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I want to get into flipping so bad. I've talked to a couple of people here that that I know do it. A couple of them are in my one of them's in my mastermind, and I'm just like, I want to do this, but I don't know how. And I'm, you know, recently just got burned or still getting burned, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, I just.
Well, I mean, it's kind of like bring your unique advantage. Like, you could be the money guy and just JV that way. Like, for some of those guys,
about that. Yeah, we've talked about it as a potential, but
I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad thing if you don't. Like, I'm glad I do, because had I not eventually gone down that road, that wholesale that fell apart, I would have been like, oh, great. You know, I'm left holding the bag, you know? So where I was able to just shift gears and be like, all right, we're not wholesaling, we're rehabbing this one. Yeah. So it does make you a little more I wouldn't say resourceful, but like a little more, you're kind of like that Gerber tool, you know, you can do a little bit of everything. You got like the scissors, the knife, the magnifying glass. Like, what one do I use for this project, you know?
So I love that now. And you got to have multiple exit strategies to be successful with this, regardless of whatever niche you're in. And I love that. Just when you said Gerber, anytime I hear Gerber, my mindset goes to baby, like the baby food and stuff. So, which I imagine your house is full of new stuff right now, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. All sorts of baby stuff.
So that's incredible. That's good stuff, man. I don't want to take up any more of your time. I know you've had a long day at work, making the shift from shift work to,
oh, you're good.
I want to say a normal schedule, but that I hate the word normal in that.
It's not a big deal. I got time, but if you need to wrap it up, I'm fine with that too. Whatever works.
Yeah, let's wrap. I want to wrap it up with a couple of things. I've started this new segment. It's just 3 random questions, right?
I heard this with April.
Off the wall. Yeah. Oh, April Crosley. She was such an amazing.
She's awesome. Great go-giver.
Yeah. If anybody that I've met here recently, it can say that they are that go-giver person, it's her. And dang it, we almost met up. She was driving through. I was following her on Instagram. She posted a pic of being here in Pensacola. I was like, wait a minute, you're in Pensacola? Why can't we meet? And she was in down for a few days. And I had to make the call. And I said, look, I messaged her and I said, look, I don't want to be this guy, but my wife is sick. We feel like it's a sinus infection. That she went to the doctor. They said, you need to go get a COVID test. We're not even going to see you. I was like, so she went to get a COVID test. We don't have the results back. I don't want to be the guy to give you. I said, I'm not showing any symptoms. Yeah. And so turns out COVID test negative. It's probably a sinus infection. Anyway, this is all like recent in the last couple of weeks. So, but yeah, it was a total go-giver. I hate that we missed out on that opportunity, or I missed out on that opportunity, but anyway.
All right. Well, I may not be able to play the guitar like Axl Rose, but let's see what I got.
Hey, before we get into this, there is a picture I saw on your Instagram. We'll make this one. Well, no, I want to share this with you because I don't know that I could do it justice. And if you're listening on the podcast, you can go to the YouTube channel.
Oh, I just closed that one.
Did you? Okay. Yeah. So what we're looking at, I'll try to describe it to you as best I can, but it's basically a picture of a corner of a building. And there are 2 sections of this corner of a building where their bricks are missing near the foundation. And it's standing on what looks like springs attached to some sort of screw. I don't know how to explain it any better than that, but what happened here? What is this?
That's a great question, and there's a lot more questions than I have answers to.
Okay.
The best thing I can say is redneck ingenuity at its finest.
Okay.
But this gentleman, I don't know.
So this is not like a foundation
here.
specialist came in and said, "Oh, this is how you fix this issue." This is, you don't know.
So this property was vacant. The people that owned it were from out of the state. Like they inherited it or something. And I don't know what all this was. Clearly had some sort of like foundation issue of some sort, but this guy had made his own like fire pit in the driveway. Like when I say fire pit, that's not accurate. It was more like a kiln that had pipes going into the house where he had made like his own radiant heat system. And so I don't know.
Gotcha.
Like I just think this guy had a foundation issue and he thought he was going to try and fix it because there was all sorts of weird stuff, not this weird, but throughout this house. But yeah, I wholesaled this house last week. Yep.
Did you? Congratulations, man.
Thanks.
I mean, the other thing, the gutter, I don't know if that gutter goes down into that concrete or
yeah,
if
it did.
just
It'd be kind of funny if it just terminated right into the I can't see it, not a problem.
That is incredible. All right, man. Well, that's congratulations on closing that. I saw that and I was like, that's probably the wildest thing I've ever seen. And I grew up in Alabama and we saw all sorts of redneck engineering that happened. So, all right, man, off the wall. Here we go. I'm going to try to find some family friendly questions. All right. Baseball or football, and why?
I grew up watching both, but right now I'd probably say baseball because my son likes to play it.
Yeah, you got to. All right. I agree with that. What position does he play?
He's tried pitching and anything on the infield he's good with. You put him in the outfield, he gets bored a little quick. So right, they're still at the age where it's like everybody plays every position, but we're slowly shifting into positions. So I would say probably like that first base pitching seems to be his favorite.
I can relate to your son because I played outfield. Today, what kind of ball player was? Most of the time it was right field. So that's where all the action was, right?
Yeah.
So that's good. That's awesome. Hopefully you can get into pitching. That's where the money's at, right? Anyway. All right. Second question, books, digital or hardback, and why? Or paperback, hardback or paperback, and why?
I'd have to go with the third. I'd go with audio. So I like to read regular books, but I probably go through a book a week on Audible.
Yeah.
Between audiobooks and podcasts, that's how I spend my commutes. And if I'm mowing the grass, I'm listening to a book. If I'm driving, I'm listening to a book or a podcast. So I would say paperback if I have to actual book, but my preference is audiobook.
I'm with you.
On double time.
It's unbelievable how you can hack your way through that. Like I pick up a paperback book and I start to yawn. I'm almost yawning now that we're talking about this. And I'm not talking about any book that I'm really interested in. It's the same thing, right? I pick up one of my kids' books to read them a book to go to sleep in. I get done with the first sentence, I'm yawning because
same.
And so there's a group of us right now and going through 75 hard, right?
Yeah.
And one of those things is you have to read 10 pages a day. And he's very, Andy Frisella is very adamant about it has to be a book. It can't be an Audible book or whatever. And I was like, I'm calling Mulligan on this because not Mulligan. Anyway, I'm calling
like
an Audible. There you go. I'm calling an Audible, literally audible.com. And because I looked into why he says you have to read a book, right? And you have to do the physical pages. And it's because his perception is that every time when most people listen to audiobooks, they're so distracting than anything else, right? And I'm like, well, if that's the case, I am totally justified here, because when I listen to an audible book, I'm hitting bookmarks, I'm taking notes on my phone just as quickly as I can, rewinding it, stuff going back. When I pick up a physical book, I can't do it. I didn't learn that way.
I think as
I'd
long
be a
as you're
lot
moving
smarter.
as long as you're moving that ball down the court, man, like, and listening and improving, like, who cares? I mean, that's me. I mean, I'm not Andy Frisella, so take it from the guy that's got the Rolls Royce and the jet, not me. You know.
Well, he's figured something out. That's for sure. That's for sure. All right, so we're in the middle of this pandemic. Hand sanitizers, almost everywhere. I went to the UPS store. They've got a thing on their door or whatever. So, question is, hand sanitizer or moist towelette? Which one do you prefer?
I don't frequent classy enough joints to have moist towelettes or whatever that was.
You and I are a lot alike.
Probably hand sanitizer, but I'm a fan of just good old fashioned, like, washing your hands with soap and warm water. Like, can't go wrong there. Everybody's like, "There's no hand sanitizer." Okay, wash your hands.
There's a sink. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I guess it would be nice. Like, the little guy comes over with the little tweezers and hands it to you. Like, that'd be nice, but I can't say I find myself in those situations very often.
I think there may have been two in my lifetime. The first one, I didn't know what was going on. I felt so awkward. I was like, I'm not doing this. What is this? Like, why are you even in here? Kind of thing. So,
exactly. I took my wife to a dinner. We were in San Diego last year, and it was like in La Jolla, right on the beach, like window, like, here's the waves, here's your window. Like, it was right there. And it was for our anniversary and, like, first trip without our son. And, like, so I rented a Tesla and we were doing all this cool stuff. And we went to this nice restaurant based on a recommendation from a buddy at work who is from San Diego. And it was great. But man, I was like a little out of place, because it was like, I think I went through 7 forks. The guy brought over the little towel. They brought you like the sorbet to your palate in between. I was like, man, I could have went to Chick-fil-A and probably been just as happy, but, like, this is cool, So
I didn't know you could rent Teslas. That's the whole thing I got out of that was you
Toro
Tesla.
Did you ever hear the app Toro?
Yeah, I've heard of that before.
Found a guy on there, and that's what I did.
That guy's got some cojones to rent out his Tesla just to anybody.
Well, there's people. Well, there's like different levels,
and
whatnot. But, like, there's all sorts of stuff you can rent on there. Like, my son's really into Corvettes, so I don't know why, but, like, he's 8 and Corvettes are awesome, which I think are too. Like, that's cool. So one day I'm gonna rent a Corvette and, like, just for the day and go do something with him, and he's hopefully gonna think that's awesome.
That will be an amazing memory, and I think that says a lot about you as a dad, just trying to make that special memory for him.
Do something,
that's
like, awesome. Go get 30 nuggets at Chick-fil-A and do it in a Corvette just for the hell of it. Why not?
That's awesome. That is incredible. Mike, congratulations on everything you've accomplished. I hope it's not 2 years again before we do this and catch up with you. But you've became a captain. I didn't even ask how many deals you've done. I mean, it's incredible just to think. But to wrap all that up, because we mostly talked about partnerships and success with your partner, right?
Sure.
And the new addition coming to the Webb household. Boy or girl, or do you guys know?
Boy. Yeah, I got 2 boys now.
Your poor wife.
Right? She's outnumbered.
She was outnumbered before. Now,
that's true.
You're a thoughtful guy. You'll figure out how to make it up to her on a routine basis. I'm sure. That's awesome. And tell them thank you for allowing to give me this time and giving the audience your time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I know you got home and I'm trying to do some stuff. Be present for the family, which I need to go do it as well. So it's about that dinner time, right? So, Mike, thank you very much, sir. And I'll post links to your blog and your Instagram page and everything that you sent me earlier.
Okay.
So, sir.
I appreciate you having me. And if anybody needs anything or has any questions, just shoot me a message.
And that's Investing Fireman on Instagram. Is that right?
Yeah, theinvestingfireman.com. Or
gotcha.
Just the investing fireman. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I have the .com, but like I don't maintain the website. Like I'm not good at that. Like I don't have time for it. So I just basically stick to social. So
yeah, I have found that is one of those things where I need to outsource. That's one thing that I need to get off my plate, because
somebody wants to
do
help
all
me with
that still.
Shoot me a message.
Yeah, and it can get into a time suck, because I look at something where I was like, oh, I'll just go update this little piece. Hours go by, I'm like, what the hell? Because these things keep popping up. I'm like, oh, let me do this while I'm here. This is only going to take a second,
Right.
So there's
famous last words.
And famous last words.
Yeah,
Mike, thank you very much, sir. I appreciate again your time and everything you're doing. Thank you for your service to your community, and just I look forward to catching up with you here pretty soon, and following you on Instagram. I mean, it's incredible to see the pictures like the one we just talked about.
Certainly. I'll try and get better about being more intentional with posting every day or every other day or so. I'm hit or miss.
Look, man, you do you. I would much rather come and check in with you like every year to say, hey, I closed 20 flips and we did 15 wholesales or whatever the numbers are, than you to come in here and say, well, I posted a lot on Instagram, because that's what I find myself doing right now.
There's people that could probably focus less on Instagram and more on deals than the other way around.
Guilty. No, I am guilty of that. And one of the things that I've talking about 2021 vision, I've gotten rid of Twitter already. Next thing is going to be Instagram, and then eventually Facebook. Those all three are going away this year for me, because they're a distraction, right? I'm creating my own community, just a little. This won't come out for several weeks, but it'll be my own community, nothing but real estate focused. And to where I know when I log into a social media platform, it's about real estate, and that's all I really care about. All the other stuff is nothing but a distraction.
Be the creator and not the consumer.
Exactly. That's it. Because right now I'm consuming way too many time sucks.
Don't be so hard on yourself.
No, well, it's true. It's true. I need a coach to say, stop doing that stuff. I'm going to be polite, say stuff. But anyway, Mike, thank you again. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. We'll see you. All right, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Captain Mike Webb and I, and I love getting to reminisce with him and talk about what things happened 2 years ago and how we've all transitioned for the better of it, right? And so here's what I recommend as next steps. Number one, connect with him on Instagram or Facebook. It's where he primarily hangs out. I like seeing what he's doing on Instagram, because he posts some amazing pictures of things that he sees and does and goes through with all of his investing adventures, and I think it's just amazing to see. So he is at the Investing Fireman on Instagram and Facebook. The second thing from here is let me know in the comments what you thought about the interview today, what resonated with you. If you've been here from the very beginning, how have you seen things that Mike and I talk about transition, and how has that helped you? I'd really love to hear that. And obviously, if there's something you agreed or disagreed with, let us know. And if you agreed or disagree with it, thumbs up, thumbs down, whatever suits you today, that is fine. I just want to see a thumbs up, thumbs down. I really do appreciate it. It helps with the whole YouTube algorithm thing, and helps other people get to see this and get exposure to it. So next up, I want to see you in this video right here.